What's going on, guys? Matthew V. Haynes here, aka the Clockmaster. Today we're talking about Halo the series. So I did a video yesterday just giving my brief thoughts on the first episode, my initial reaction to that, and I just finished watching both of the episodes again, and now I'm here to actually give you guys my thoughts just off of that. If you're new here and you want to see my reactions to those episodes, please let me know in the comments down below if you'd be interested in seeing something like that, and be sure to subscribe for that as well so you get notified when I upload those videos if you guys want to see those reactions. And as a disclaimer, as I said in my last video, I don't know anything really about the Halo lore from the games. The amount of my knowledge only goes as far as playing the multiplayer and kind of just messing around in Halo Reach back in the day, and that's pretty much about it. I've never looked into the lore for the story. I've never looked into the world building, the characters, the campaigns. I've never played any of them, so I don't have a huge childhood with Halo like many of you guys do, so I don't have the same passion for the franchise as a lot of you guys do. So that's just a disclaimer here. This is just going to be my thoughts from a review standpoint and a critic standpoint as to what did I think about the technical details. Did the story work for me? Did I enjoy what I saw? And do I think this is a good series so far overall? So those are just going to be my basic thought process going into this. And I did enjoy playing some of the things from the games that I did, especially with Halo Infinite. I thought the online game was fun, and I thought it was awesome to play. I just never got into Halo as deeply. All right, let's just go off the cast really quickly. We have Pablo Schreiber. I don't think I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but he is playing Master Chief 117. We have Natasha McElhone playing Dr. Halsey, and we have the voice actor from Halo, Jen Taylor, playing Cortana. So a whole bunch of other people in the cast, so it's a really long list, guys, so I won't be spending too much time on all that. Also, I didn't even realize how tall Mr. Pablo is. This guy's like 6'5". So from what I've done, from the brief research about Master Chief, he's supposed to be pretty like tall and like a massive kind of like presence. So that's definitely what I got from this. All right, so what are my overall thoughts on everything from Halo? I mean, Paramount Plus sent me 2 episodes, so there's 2 episodes. They're about an hour each. I don't think that's enough fairly for me to really accurately judge the show as a whole as to whether I think it'll be successful or if it's even good. But just based off of those 2 episodes, I really loved the first episode. I loved what they did in that first episode. They gave us a bunch of action. They showed us what the fight choreography can be, where it's headed with that. There's a lot of really cool like heads up display stuff that's awesome. There's a lot of like really cool Easter eggs as well for Halo fans. I definitely feel like some things obviously I didn't recognize, but for Halo fans, you would recognize it out of the bat. There's a lot of really cool things in there. I love the costume design and the set design. I really loved how everything looked. I know a concern for people was how they thought it was going to look gimmicky and like cheap and all that. That's not the vibe I got from this. Everything looked pretty clean. Everything looked really nice. And it felt legit. Like the presence of the Spartans when they were on screen, it was felt. And the way that they set up everything, especially in the first episode, without going into spoilers, the way they set up everything with the Spartans, they definitely let you know that these guys are a threat and you do not want to mess with them. And obviously throughout the episode, the first episode, there was a little bit of some slow moments in there and some gimmicky things that I talked about in my last video, but everything kind of makes up for it with the overall plot direction and where I think they're heading with things. And then going into episode 2 as well, I felt like it was a great connection from the first one. We got more exploration on the world building. We got more exploration on certain characters that we're seeing that we haven't got a chance to meet yet. They were establishing some more stuff with UNSC and really just hammering on the world building, giving us a lot of information and a lot of foundational things for us to step off of, and I really enjoyed that. One of my concerns going into this show, just someone who doesn't really know much about the lore, was, is this a show that I can gravitate towards without necessarily having to play the game? And I think so far, I mean, despite some confusion that I do have with the overall idea of certain things, I still think it's a pretty good show for those who are interested in getting into it. Obviously, if you play the games, you're gonna have certain expectations and you're gonna want to see certain things, and you're gonna be comparing certain things to what you know from the campaigns or whatnot, which is fine. But I think for non-fans of the franchise and of the games, you can pretty much get into this thing just as is, honestly. I mean, again, they set up certain things from the jump to get you interested, to show you what they can do later. Some really cool large-scale things that I really feel is going to come into play later on in the series once get to see more episodes. That's really good. But I mean, the first episode did a good job, I think, in the first, like honestly, like the beginning, they really did a good job in setting up what you're going to see for the rest of the season. Now, I did see some comments on my previous video talking about concerns about it being woke or like too progressive or whatnot. Let me just voice my opinions on that, because I've seen some, I guess some other like reviewers were saying certain things like that. Honestly, guys, I don't think that the show is woke or whatever. I hate using that word, but like, I don't think the show is like that. It's not the vibe I get, because I'm not easily threatened by progressive stuff. But I don't think the show is like overly preachy or overly like campy or like in your face with like political stuff and certain agendas or whatever that some people are concerned about. At least I personally didn't get that vibe from the first 2 episodes of watching this. All I cared about and what I wanted to see was the substance of the story. Like, is the story rich enough to bring me in? Are the characters interesting enough for me to be on board with the overall story? Is the acting going to be good? Is the writing good? Is everything else flow with the show that makes the series good? Because there's more to a show than just, you know, all that kind of stuff you guys are concerned about. So I mean, no, they're not doing like a thing that most other studios do where they like hammer on certain agendas. At least within the first 2 episodes, I didn't see any of that. I didn't get any of those feelings. All I see, the way I see it, man, is 2552. We're like way into the future, bro. Like, there's gonna be people of color, at least hopefully in the future. Like, there's gonna be people of color in certain positions of power. There's going to be you know, different genders. There's gonna be women doing different things that they never did 100 years ago, 200 years ago, you know what I'm saying? So there's gonna be changes like that. So I mean, in my opinion, obviously I don't know what it's like in the games, but to me, that's what I would expect the future to be. But as I mentioned, it's not overly heavily focused on that kind of stuff. Everything is just there. They're showing you who's doing what, who's doing this, and they're focusing really on the story. And Master Chief, I know this is a big concern for people too. I feel like, you know, Master Chief is in the forefront. He's on the wallpaper. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's there in the forefront, and they're focusing a lot on him and his story. So I mean, any other reviewer tell you that they're not focusing on Master Chief, I don't know what they're talking about, but they're focusing on Master Chief. Yes, obviously there's other stories, and I can't get into spoilers, but yes, there's other storylines and other things that they're trying to maybe explore later on down the line. But at the end of episode 2 and episode 1, the impression that I got was that they're focusing on Master Chief and the stories surrounding his character and things that I can't really get into for spoilers. I'm trying to be careful how I speak here. So yeah, man, overall, guys, my only negatives, those are some of my positives and my general thoughts. My only negatives that I really had with this was there was some pacing problems that I found with both episodes. Some parts that were just like a little too, like, I wouldn't want to say boring. I would just kind of say it was a little kind of like, I don't know, it just kind of felt a little slower than I would have preferred. But they were able to make up for it with giving us the information that we needed for certain characters and key moments and things they will set up later on down the line. Some of the script delivery felt a little bit off. Like, there was 1 or 2 characters where their lines didn't really work for me. But it wasn't to the point where I was like, okay, I'm like, the test, I need to take this off. Like, it was not that bad at all. But that could just be a little bit of a nitpick, honestly. And also, I still feel like they're, you know, again, this is only 2 episodes, so I can't really judge the entire series off of this. They didn't mention how many episodes are in total for this in the press information, but 2 episodes they're not really enough for me to make a poll prediction on the overall value of the show. Like, it's not enough information for me. They set up a lot of good things. I'm interested enough to continue watching and continuing the show, and they gave us what we needed to see, honestly. But I feel like the show is sort of struggling with it's trying to find its overall foundation, because again, stepping stones, they're setting up certain characters and they're setting up certain, you know, presence with certain people I had to choose my words there, to be a problem. So in that regard, I really love the overall, like, this is my final thoughts here, the overall experience in these first 2 episodes. I got to see enough with the world building. They're really focusing on establishing the world and developing certain characters, certain people, and I'm really loving that. They're not just keeping it in just one dimensional kind of focused area where you don't get to know more about the world that Master Chief is in. So yeah, overall, man, I really loved it. And I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of the series, man. I hope you guys enjoyed my review. I tried to take down some notes the best as I could, because it's kind of hard to talk about certain things without spoiling, because there's a lot to really talk about within this show. I really enjoyed a lot of what I saw, especially for these first 2 episodes were really exciting. And yeah, man, the presence of the Spartans were definitely felt. So yeah, I can't wait for you guys to see this. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Clockmaster out.